focus on energy efficiency. And if you need to bid for funds, you need to make good business cases. And you need to look to other companies, like BT, for example. The people within BT responsible for energy efficiency are really good businessmen. They've stopped being sustainability experts. They're businessmen first. They put business cases because they're competing against funding for projects that will deliver growth or profitability. If you're there saying, actually, I'm going to save you 1% or 10% of a figure, energy figure, that's not very big and not very important, then it won't get the same thing as, I'm actually going to grow your profitability by 20% to 5%. Now, that's a business perspective, but how do you translate that into the education world? What is it you can deliver beyond simply a saving, which is a kind of a negative thing? And execution. It is absolutely essential. If you say you're going to do something, you actually deliver on that. Now, that means that when the project is completed, that's when the work starts on making sure that the thing you've had installed actually does what it says it's going to do. It's delivered. And in so many cases, these systems just don't work. And nobody notices. And the reason nobody notices, you get this sort of kind of circle of self-deceit, in that no client, be it a head teacher or whoever's responsible, wants to admit they bought a pup. The architect's too busy trying to get this prize for this wonderful building that they've had done, exemplar building. The contractors sure as heck don't want to come back because it's money to come back to site. So everybody convinces themselves it's a fantastic project, when you all know it's not. So what do we actually do? This is the building industry generally. But actually, the client has in mind something like this, something that's going to win the Sterling Prize, that it's going to be on the front of the magazines, that the Telegraph are going to take a photograph of, and everybody's delighted. And actually what we deliver, by and large, is this. Something that's almost impossible to deal with. There are so many buildings like this that are overly complex, over-designed, over-engineered. If you keep it simple, the chances are it's going to work. This is the Apollo project. If we did it now, this is probably what they would get halfway across to the moon. There was more computing capacity, in this than there was on the whole Apollo project. And that's because it kept it simple. I'm not suggesting we go back to that form of technology, but it's a good, would you trust going to the moon now using Microsoft project? The result, if you get it wrong, you don't get a second chance by and large, the money's gone. So it's your money that's disappeared. This is actually, I changed the name, but this is actually taken from a primary school's website. You've got to design for the end user. Design a system that an end user can understand. If you look at the caretaker here, the person by and large who looks after these things, he says, I'm a school caretaker and I'm married with 2 children. It doesn't say I'm a building services engineer. But we design systems for the building services engineer to actually operate, not the end user. So you've got to design for the end user, so it's got to be simple. But how many people, when they're doing schools projects, say, can you show me the user interface that is going to control this system that I bought from Austria and half it comes from Norway and none of it comes from somewhere else? Now my background actually is in submarines, and that's HMS Trafalgar in dry dock. And we went into these things called docking and essential defects quite often. And people like this, Dockyard Mateys from Scotland and Devon, came on board, fixed bits on board the submarine. And there's one essential rule in submarines in order to avoid this, in that the number of surfacing operations equals the number of dives. If you don't take that number, you've got a problem, like because. And in order to avoid that problem, we took the Dockyard Mateys to sea with us on the first journey. Now that focused their attention a great deal more than if you hadn't done that. They tended to be more interested than if you don't take them. So my question is to you, what is it that you can do to a contractor that would be the equivalent of taking them to sea? Because completion is only the start. Yet everything we do, it's the end as far as everybody's concerned. It's only the start once you've got delivery. How do you make this bespoke system work? So, back to design. You design for this, the lowest common denominator, the couch potato. Now that could be a student, and I've got a daughter at university at the moment, who spends a lot of time doing that. She doesn't look quite like that, but she's very clever, but not really very interested in doing anything outside that. And that actually represents most of us. You are the converted in this room. Remember that. You're not the mass majority. Most people are very happy to do things, provided it doesn't take any time, it costs anything, it take any effort. So why design for other people? So we shouldn't design for tree huggers. We shouldn't design for the geek. Anybody who comes along with lots of pens across the top of their pocket tells you they're going to design a system that's going to be easy to operate. You don't believe them. Or anybody in this room. Design for people who have no interest. So, what does that mean? These are heating controllers. You've probably got something like this in your house. Now, how many of those would you describe as intuitive in operation? They're not high. I mean, I've just come back from holiday and I had to do 5 minutes in front of my time clock trying to work out how to... And until we have something, a control system, that you can pick up and operate intuitively, you'll never make savings because it's too difficult to change things, to change settings. Any system where an engineer has to come plug in a laptop to reset your things, it's too complex, yet many, many of our systems are like that. Actually, a secondary school pupil, you said, the best controller of heating systems in schools is about an 8-year-old pupil, because they're interested and they're willing to do it. They'll go around and help and change things, about engaging. And there's another area you can engage. Actually, if you put these systems in, like a ground source heat pump, which actually I advocate, I used to install them, I think they're great things. But what a great physics lab. Why not take the information from that system and use it in lessons? It's a fantastic thing, and it isn't difficult to extract the data you need to make that happen. Anyway, so they should look like this, and talk to your iPhone, talk to your iPad, be intuitive. So how do you do it? Well, actually, having said technology is really complex and difficult, I actually believe technology will be the answer in the Internet of Things. And building management systems, which are designed to bring all the disparate systems together, will migrate to an IP network within a school, within any environment, and make it easier to operate because it will be automated and it will learn from what you do. An example of that would be a heating controller, and these are nearly available, they're beginning to come out. That actually, if you leave your house, for example, will say, look, I noticed you've left your house, heating, lighting still on. Shall I switch it on or off? Yes, no, ignore. If you want to go deeper, you can. We're nearly there with these things, but that's the kind of system you need that just gives you the relevant amount of information you need when you need it. Design for the user, we've discussed that. Soft landings, post-occupancy evaluation. As I keep saying, the start point is when you get the building or you're handed over a system. That's when the difficult bit starts. And there's a really good system from BISRIA called soft landings, post-occupancy evaluation, that leads you through a process whereby you can ensure that all the things you've got do what they're supposed to do. And commissioning plans. When I was contracting, my biggest client was National Grid. We had the start of project day 1 in the morning. In the afternoon, they did the first commissioning panel. That is, the client, i.e. you people in effect, sat down and chaired a meeting to say, tell me exactly what you're going to give me when you're going to give it to me. Now, many educational authorities and many health authorities, other bodies say you can't be involved in this process because actually you'll be assuming responsibility for it. Well, that's nonsense. Because actually you've got to have skin in the game. You're going to own this thing, you're going to operate it, run it, so why not be involved in the process that says, I want this on this date? And it focuses attention on the end at the beginning, which is where you need it to be. And why is that? Because actually we are all humans, so we need to design for humans, not for geeks or treating as anybody else. So, thank you very much.